And welcome into Tennessee Tuesday. I'm your host, John Blankenship, joined by my co-host, Jason Boshears, and we'll have a special guest joining us here in just a couple of moments. But Jason, how you doing this evening? It's got a little cool for us here in Tennessee.
Yes, it has. Just out of nowhere, it seems like 70 degrees one day, and then the next night it was 28, and then last night, well, this morning I woke up at 21 degrees here in southern Middle Tennessee.
Little chilly. We both live in old houses, Jason, so we know what it's like on those cold days. A little chilly.
Yes, sir. When you can stand by the windows and feel the breeze come through.
Well, It's good to be back together once again. We were both separated the last couple of weeks. You had to cover for me. I've covered as you've been gone too. So we're back together for a show together this week. And man, we've had a couple of good shows, some great guests, and learned a lot of good stuff. And we're looking forward to continuing here at Tennessee Tuesday. Again, it's Tuesday, November the 11th, Veterans Day, Jason. We want to mention and honor and salute our veterans this evening. The sacrifice so many have made and continue to make daily serving our country. We sure do appreciate their sacrifice. And I know in the SCV, we have many veterans, and we thank them so much for their service.
Yes, sir. And I wish I could say more, but when it comes to the veterans, sometimes there's just no words other than what you just said there to thank them for the sacrifice that they make, placing themselves between an invading army, and us. And, that's, I don't know of any better words than to say thank you. And one day is not enough.
You're exactly right. Each and every day we should honor them, stand up for them, defend them, for the service they give to us. We have the freedoms we have, even though we live in a world that so much is taken away, but because of them, we have what we have. And we should lead into our disclaimer tonight, Jason. You've got that going across the screen for us tonight, that the views and opinions you hear on SCV Chat and Tennessee Tuesday are solely our own opinions, nobody else.
That is correct. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast, they are not the opinions of the SCV, its GEC, any division, brigade, camps, or any other subsidiaries. Whatever I say, it's my opinion. I'm responsible for it. The same with John, and the same with our guest. And let's just pop him on right now. The great James
James
Patterson.
Patterson is with us this evening. James is a past Tennessee Division commander. He's been Army of Tennessee councilman and everything in between. James has been a member.
Oh, John, are you locking up?
You may have lost me. All right, am I still with you?
Yes, sir. Now you are,
Yeah.
but you did fade on us.
Well, I'm in a different location this evening. I'm still at work tonight, so my setup's a little different. It's got concrete blocks around us, so if I drop off, you kind of know what's happening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let's try that again. I don't know how much James heard us, but James, welcome in, past Tennessee Division commander and Army of Tennessee councilman in the past. We appreciate all his service to the SCV. James, what, 30 years you've been a part of the SCV?
Yeah, actually about 34 years now.
Definitely a long history. And James, kind of welcome you in this evening. I'm glad you're with us, taking the time out. And we do want to offer our condolences once again to you and your family for the loss of your mom a few weeks ago. I know that we're
appreciate
still
that.
praying for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me on tonight. I want to repeat what y'all said earlier. Thanks to the veterans out there, all veterans, and especially the guys that are members of the SCV. I know we got a lot of strong members that are proud of their service, and thank you for everything that y'all have done.
Absolutely. Well, James is the commander of his camp there, the John R Massey camp in Fayetteville. We're going to talk a little bit about the camp this evening and the namesake too. But James, for folks that don't know you in the SCV, and I'm sure many are watching and listening to us tonight probably are familiar with you, but if they're not, tell me a little bit about who is James Patterson and kind of what's your interest in history, how you got involved in that in the SCV.
Yeah, well, I was born and raised in Murfreesboro, and back when I was, we moved to Fayetteville a couple of years ago. Me and Melanie met here in Fayetteville, but I was born and raised in Murfreesboro, and we moved back here after I retired from Nissan, and she retired from her job. So we've been back going on about 5 years, but I was in the Murfreesboro camp for, I think, 31 years. And the way that I found out I had a Confederate ancestor, I was in the family cemetery plot over at Evergreen Cemetery, which is very close to Confederate Circle. And I saw a headstone that said A.J. Patterson, a Confederate soldier. So that started my interest in the SCV. And in 1991, that's when I joined and stayed with the camp there. It was hard leaving Murfreesboro, coming here, but I've got as many Confederate ancestors that are from Lincoln County, maybe even more than I do from Rutherford County. And enjoyed every minute of it. It's a big part of my life, and it's always SCV first, period, you know.
Yeah. Well, James, how did you get interested in history altogether? Was that something you were raised up around? You heard about your ancestors growing up?
It was, growing up in Murfreesboro, it's a Civil War town.
Yep.
And we had the Stone River Battlefield. As Boy Scouts, we camped on the battlefield. School trips were to the battlefields. We went to Chickamauga and hiked that trail. And I was one of the charter hikers of the Stones River Civil War Trail. So it's something I kind of grew up with. And about that time, I bought a book that was it's in black and white. It's on Confederate weaponry. And ever since then, I've just had the bug. And me and my wife and sister-in-law and brother-in-law went to Chattanooga back in the 70s, and I got we had one of those old-timey pictures made, all of us, and Confederate uniforms and old Southern Belle dresses. And little did I know that just a few years later that I'd get interested in this, and the SCV would become such a big part of my life and the history that I enjoy and proud of.
It's very important. I know you've done a lot. We'll talk a little bit about reenactment, James. I know you've done some reenacting, and was that kind of at the start when you got in the SCV? You did that kind of immediately, or did that come along? Or
no, I kind of fell into that. They had I forget which anniversary it was in Murfreesboro, the big Battle of Murfreesboro, and I decided then that since my Confederate ancestor that I joined on, Archibald James Patterson, he was in the Battle of Stones River, so I went to blockade runner and got my uniform and all. And my son Matt, he reenacted with me for many years, and I don't do a lot of reenactments now, but I do living histories. When we were in Murfreesboro, we did a lot at Canonsburg Pioneer Village and Oakland's Mansion and Sam Davis Home. I've been on the board of the Sam Davis Home since about 2013, and I don't get to spend as much time as there's we're like, since we're, you know, hour and a half, 2 hours away, but it's still a big part of what I enjoy doing.
Well, James, it's something we know when you do any research on our organization or Civil War history in general in Tennessee, your name comes up pretty quick because you've been around it a while now. We're not going to say you go back to the Civil War days, but pretty close, huh?
Yeah, and I've enjoyed it. And over the years, you know, we did a lot of school programs, and it's just been a lot of fun over the years.
Yeah, we've got a lot of folks watching with us tonight, James, to see jumping on, and Jason sharing some of those comments on the screen tonight. Lots of folks around the Confederation joining us, and we do thank you for watching and listening on whatever platform you're on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, many different outlets that you can watch us on Tennessee Tuesdays pages as well as SCV chat. So we do thank you for being with us this evening. James, we're going to go ahead and do a couple of things here business-wise. We'll come back and we're going to talk a little bit about John R Massey and who he is and the namesake of your camp, and we'll kind of get in a little bit more about the camp and some of your involvement in the SCV and some accomplishments and things you've seen done and maybe some things you'd like to see done in our organization. So if you'll hang with us, we'll be back here in just a few minutes and talk a little more. Well, Jason, we need to go over our sponsor list, and I believe you've got that for us tonight, and we'll go through our sponsors that sponsor the program here of Tennessee Tuesday and SCV Chat this evening. So you've got that list, Jason?
Yes, we do. I'll go ahead and you'll see our Patreon members that are coming across here. These Patreon members, and you can go on to patreon.com and SCV_chat, and you can find out how to help sponsor this show. And it has different levels. They have the Feed a Moose level. And if you are familiar with the show, you know, we're talking about Harrison Dawes. His nickname is Moose. And you know, he's always talked for years that, hey, I'm just a poor college student. Poor broke college student. So they have a Feed a Moose level. It's $2.50 a month. And he didn't get to name that. It was done and named that. So Feed a Moose level at that, then you can join for $10 a month. And then you can join for $30 a month. If you go to $30 a month, you join the merchandise level, where you start every few months, you'll start getting something, and it's logo merchandise from SCV Chat. And then you have like this ad right here, and this is Chris Cummings, and Chris Cummings is paying $80 a month to be a sponsor on this show. And you know, it's helping keeping the show on. John can tell you how much work and how expensive where you know, when you go to start doing a show like this. I've even mentioned it before. I'll mention again, you know, the StreamYard subscription is nearly $1,000 a year. So that's just part of it. So these sponsorships, they really mean a lot. And thank everybody for doing, you know, for the Chris Cummins for being a show sponsor, and our Patreon members as well.
Absolutely.
Because I think this is still the best way to get the information out, and the quickest, because, you know, something could happen today and we could talk about it tonight instead of, and nothing, no harm against the Confederate Veteran magazine, but you're talking about something and it might not, you know, the magazine's too much from coming out.
Yeah, and the magazine, you're going to get the articles in more depth of things. This is going to be really news-oriented sometimes, and a couple of things we'll touch on tonight that we've learned about today, Jason. I want to mention a little bit later on towards the end of the program. We need maybe a little call help from our membership to watch what's happening in the news, especially related to our ancestors. Lots of things happening around, of course, the South and in Tennessee, and we keep up with that, and we want to defend our ancestors. So that's why it's important for you to support this channel and the work that's done here with Harrison and Connor getting this going. We're glad to be able to be a part of it. And Jason, let's talk about some of those other programs that outside of Tennessee Tuesday, there's a whole list of programs throughout the week.
Yes, sir. And I just wanted to pop this up on here, Tennessee Tuesday. We're on Facebook, we are on YouTube, and we're on Instagram. So you're going to be able to find us in all of those places. So catch Tennessee Tuesday on that. We're trying to expand. We're trying to grow the platform. But this all started because of the flagship show, which is on Monday night, and that's SCV Chat. You're talking something that started 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it has been very well. It comes on Central Time, 7 p.m. Monday nights. Tuesday night, you can catch us here on Tennessee Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Wednesday night, Look Around Florida with Sean McFall. And Sean McFall he's on here watching tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, I see him on there. And I want to bring this up because I see that Sean is checking in. Yes. Appreciate you coming in and checking with us, Sean. Thank you for being part of the show. And then on Thursday night, now the first Thursday night of the month, we have Commander's Comments. And that is when Walter D. Donnie Kennedy, the current Commander-in-Chief, will come on the show. And you're able to get information directly from him. You're actually able to ask questions and hear exactly what is going on from the Commander-in-Chief himself. The other Thursday nights, they're Look Around the Confederation. And they are just, let's say that you have an event. Okay, let's say today's Veterans Day. Yeah. And let's say that your camp marched in a Veterans Day parade. Take pictures of it. And send it and send it in to SCV Youth Outreach, and I'll get this pulled up that I have the address on it. You can send it to scvyouthOutreach@gmail.com, and if you'll send us that information, what we'll do is you'll be on the Thursday night show. So if you do something, broadcast it. Let everybody know that you're doing something. So if you were in a Veterans Day parade, please take pictures. Hope you took pictures. Please send them to SCV Youth Outreach and tell us just a little bit of information about it. Hey, I'm camp number, we're camp number blah, blah, and we were, and these are the members in these pictures. And let's talk about what our members are doing out there. So, yes.
Absolutely.
And Friday night, I see David Pope was on here. David Pope does the Friends of Douglas Southall Freeman. David, do you mind popping on there? I know you went. Are you going to go live this coming Friday night? And you can let us know.
Let him jump in and tell us that. Also on Saturday night, one of my favorite programs is Hardy on History with Michael Hardy.
Yes, sir. That's Sunday night.
Does a great job.
That's Sunday night. That's a typo. That's Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I read over that. Yeah, that is Sunday. Sunday night. His History Chat, great program.
Yes, it is. He does a great job. Michael Hardy does a fantastic job. Yes. So that's all the shows that we have out there. We don't have anything on Saturday, but we have shows the rest of the week. So you're able to get the information out there. And, you know, if you want to know what's going on, you got a lot of shows. So
absolutely plenty to keep up with the SCV and what's happening in the Confederation. And before we take our first break, we want to do that, Jason. We're going to come back and be talking with James Patterson about John R Massey and a little bit about his history in the camp there. But let's mention a couple of things coming up here news-wise. The Hatton camp there in Lebanon is having their turkey shoot. That's going to be coming up this weekend, the 15th and 16th. And then again, they'll have that on December the 6th. So if you're interested in going and participating in that, you can see there on the flyer, just reach out to them on their Facebook page or Tom Wood, and he'll get you the information. Love for you to come out and be a part of that event. Another one coming up, Jason, is the Sam Davis Memorial Day event. Going to be there with you guys. I know that's going to be on Saturday, the 22nd of November. Not this weekend, but next from 2 until 4 there at the Sam Davis home in Smyrna. There's going to be a special guest speaker. I believe that usually happens inside, Jason. And then you're going to do a little bit about the life and death of Sam Davis at the graveside, right?
Yes, sir. You are correct. James Turner is going to be the speaker in the auditorium before. That's the 2 o'clock. And then right after that, we'll go to the gravesite, and I'll talk about the capture, trial, and execution of Sam Davis.
That's coming up November the 22nd. Make your plans to be there. We've got plans, Jason. We're going to come up and get a hotel the night before, spend the night, get up and go spend the afternoon there at the Sam Davis home. I've been to that event a few times now. Always a good time. And Jason, I was talking to my wife. I said, looks like it's going to get cold on us. Every time I go to the Sam Davis home, it's cold. Yeah. It's like it can be in the middle of the summer and it's going to be cold. Maybe that's just I'm jinxing it somehow.
If I'm right, you were the keynote speaker there a few years ago.
A couple of years ago. A real honor to be able to do that, to be at his gravesite, to pay respects to him, and a fantastic job. I'm going to give you a shout out. You do on telling the story of Sam Davis. You do it with so much passion, which makes it even that much better to learn the story of his life and, of course, his death and the sacrifice he made for the South. Let's do a couple of other events coming up. This one here is going to be Camp Ferguson. This event is coming up from a Camp 2014 there. That'll be on November the 29th. So coming up the end of this month there at the cemetery. Again, you can just Google some of this stuff and go on social media. You will find it. And, of course, if you're on any of our groups, the Tennessee Division group, for our members, you've already seen this shared a few times. A couple of others coming up. The Pea Ridge reenactment is going to be December the 6th and the 7th. That's up in Missouri. So you see the details there on that Saturday and Sunday, the times. And if you'd like to participate there, and admission is just $10. Always a good event there if you're interested in traveling up the road into Missouri. Yes. Also, one more here. We've got a Christmas party coming up. The Bradford Rose Camp in Morristown is going to have theirs along with the Sam Davis UDC. The Christmas party is December the 13th. That'll be at noon there. They'll have a wreath ceremony. Then the food will follow at the Longstreet Museum. So we'll be talking more. By the way, a special guest that'll be joining us here in a few weeks is going to be Mike Beck with the Longstreet Museum and the camp there. Lots of good things they've got going on. So he'll be talking about the Tennessee Division reunion in a little more detail. We'll probably do that maybe the end of December or in the 1st of January. Mike Beck will be our guest. We've got some others to talk about, but let's go ahead, Jason. We'll take this first break. We'll come back, and we'll be talking with James Patterson next here on Tennessee Tuesday on SCB Chat.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost. Stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
And welcome back into our program here at Tennessee Tuesday in SCV Chat. John Blankenship, Tennessee Division Commander of the SCV, and Jason Boshears, who is currently the adjutant of the Tennessee Division. Jason, glad to be back us together again. We've had a couple of weeks apart. It's like we were separated or something for some reason. No fights. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, and it didn't seem natural. You know, I've gotten to, you're just a great working buddy, and I got so used to you being there. I'm going, last week, Dr. Steve Murphy did a fantastic job. Nothing about that, but it just seemed odd to not have you there. Yeah, and I'm glad to have you back.
That's one thing about a two-man show. If one of us have to be off, there's somebody else to fill in. We both got experience doing broadcasting and now, of course, with this program. So we can cover it pretty good. And we've got something in the works special for next Tuesday. It's one of those type of things. It's getting a busy time of year, lots of stuff going on. But again, this show is important in what we do here. I want to jump into the chat a second, Jason, and I'm watching some here on Facebook as well and across all the platforms. Several folks jumping in. Tom Wood, who is the commander of the Lebanon camp there, the General Hatton camp, they were in the Lebanon's Veterans Day Parade today. So applaud them for their work doing it. I'm sure Tom, if he hasn't already shared pictures, I haven't got to look at this afternoon. We'll try to have some of those next week and encourage him to send those in to Moose for Thursday during the program Look Around the Confederation. Several others there. Mr. Roy Hudson says, Jason Boshiers, we love his program on Sam Davis, giving Jason the big head tonight. Mr. LeRae saying there, the Sam Davis home is a great historic site. And again, David Pope jumping in there as well. We appreciate all those commenting tonight and being a part of the program. That just makes this interactive and even more interesting about the live programming, that we can talk with our viewers and interact, and that always makes the show even better. And I like when we learn something too. Someone gives you information of something we don't know about. And one of those, Jason, that I always learn something from, it's not the gray hair, but we just know he's full of wisdom. The gray hair just helps it. James Patterson, we're glad to have James with us this evening. And James, welcome back into the program.
Thank you for having me back on here. And it's white hair according to my grandkids.
You can pull it off with, and you've had that since I've known you, James. It's always had that snow white look.
Yeah, I went gray pretty young.
But you pull it off with, still got a head full of hair, so that's all right. That's all that matters. Well, let's go ahead and jump in a little bit about John R Massey tonight, James, and that's, of course, the namesake of the camp there in Fayetteville. Tell us a little bit about, and kind of let you lead there. There's a photograph you see of Massey, and let's kind of intro into his story, and I'm going to let you kind of lead where you want to go to tell about him tonight.
Okay. When the Lincoln County voted to secede, there was about 3,000 men that volunteered to join the Confederate Army. On the final secession vote, Lincoln County has voted 100% in favor of secession. John R. Massey was born in 1931. He joined the 1st Tennessee Infantry, and they went off to Virginia. And after he was there for about a year, he was transferred to the he was the 2nd lieutenant in a Virginia artillery regiment. We've never really figured that out, but it was Raines Company, and his mother was a Raines, and she was from Virginia. So I don't know if there's a family connection there, or that's part of a story that we'll never find the exact answer. But he developed chronic bronchitis, and the doctor examined him and determined he was not able to serve anymore. So he came back to Fayetteville, and he started working in Mildred Goodrich's hardware store.
Okay.
And on June 15, 1864, Ebenezer Payne was provost marshal, and he sent his men into Lincoln County that burnt houses along the way, killed livestock. And when they got into town, they arrested Tom Massey, who was John's brother, William Pickett, Frank Burris, and Dr. Miller. Mm-hmm. And the Union officer said there'd been some bushwhacking going on, and they wanted the names of those bushwhackers. And if they didn't get that information, they were going to execute these guys at 3:00 in the afternoon. Well,
James, let's jump in there for folks that may be viewing that some of the terminology we use sometimes we forget. People may not know. Define bushwhacking for folks that may not know what that is.
Bushwhacker would be about the same thing as a guerrilla fighter. You know, they waited on Union patrols to come through and might attack and kill some of the men. There weren't any major battles in Lincoln County, but they were under military occupation twice. In the second occupation, Ebenezer Payne, who was from Ohio, and he was known to execute people on the spot, not give them a trial or anything. So that's pretty much what a bushwhacker, guerrilla fighter is, pretty much the same terminology. So they arrest those 4 men. Massey finds out about it. He comes up on the square, and he tells the Union officers that his brother didn't know anything about any bushwhacking, his brother had never been in the Confederate Army, and if they were going to draw Massey blood that day, that he was going to stand in his place.
Yeah.
So the Union officers let John's brother Tom go, and at 3:00 they marched these 4 men up towards the hill there in Fayetteville, and along the way they let Dr. Miller go. And as they came to the top of the hill and they halted and got ready to execute these men, Frank Burris and William Pickett fell to their knees and started praying. And Massey reaches down and grabs the two guys up and says, "Stand when you pray, kneel to God, but never to dogs like this." And then he rips his shirt open and said, "Let's see how good your aim is." And they shot all 3 of them. And the Union officers told the people of the town, "Leave these bodies laying here until sundown, because we want this to be a reminder of what we do when we don't get the information that we want." After the Union officers left, Mildred Goodrich, who owned the hardware store, and they actually brought these men up close to her house when they executed them. She had the bodies taken to her hardware store on the west side of the square, where they remained till the next morning. And then she had them buried in her family plot there in the Old City Cemetery. So 3 months later, September comes around, and Captain Blackwell, who was a guerrilla fighter, comes up out of Banier Swamp down in Tony, Alabama, heads into Fayetteville, gathering a posse with him along the way. And when they get to Fayetteville, he tells the guys, "We're going to go down into Shelbyville and raid a Union supply depot." Now, Blackwell had been a sheriff in Bedford County prior to the war, so he knew all the back roads and ways to get in there. They went in, surrounded the Union supply depot, and captured 21 Union soldiers. As they were leaving town, they torched the supply depot. They head back to Fayetteville, and when they get into town, one of the guys with Blackwell says, "What are we going to do with these guys?" And he said, "We're going to kill all of them." And they said, "Well, all of these don't need to have that fate, So they picked out some of them that they thought were in on Massey's execution. Some of them were Confederates that had gone and galvanized. The other 11, they signed a parole. They went off to a military prison. And the other 10, they took out to Wells Hill here in Lincoln County, shot all 10 of them, and pinned a note to each of them's jacket that said, "Remember John R Massey." So it was a retaliation for them killing John Massey. And I looked up the service records for the Union soldiers that were executed. It has written in there that they were killed by Captain Blackwell, the guerrilla fighter.
Was there any more action after that, after they were killed? Was there any more retaliation back the other way?
Not that I know of. I know there were a lot of murders of citizens that had been Confederate soldiers here in Lincoln County. There were, I think, 7 that were killed in Mulberry, Tennessee. And Judge Chilcote, who had been a Confederate soldier and came back to Fayetteville, he got discharged. He was out looking for his horse, and the Union patrol killed him too. So there was a lot of that kind of feuding that went on during the war here. And
really tough time in Tennessee, James. That's the same type thing we see here in Gibson County in West Tennessee. As these Yankees come in, they really cause so much havoc, not only just with soldiers that were here, but the families that were left here.
Yeah,
and just put them through torment.
Yeah, and there's several other notables here. Colonel John Fulton, he was killed in the Battle of Petersburg. Monroe Bearden, he's one that was killed. He was actually wounded in the Battle of Murfreesboro, and his father went and got his body and stayed with him until he passed away, and he's buried here in Lincoln County. So we've got a lot of notables, but as far as action that went on here, the Massey execution, or actually the Massey murder, is the biggest story here.
So, James, what are some of the Confederate units that were organized? I know it may be putting you on the spot a little bit. Do you know some of those that were organized in Lincoln County and in the Fayetteville area?
Yeah, hold on just a second. I can just pull that up.
But a very interesting story with Massey. And, of course, been to his gravesite a few times there, just not too far off Court Square. They're right up next to the church, just a small marker to mark his final resting place. Just an example of what happened in the South.
Yeah, and we've got the host of Christmas Past coming up this weekend, and I'll be portraying John R Massey in the cemetery stroll that they have. We've been able to get involved in a lot of cemetery strolls here. We'll have somebody portraying Judge Chilcote, Tater. I don't know if any of y'all know Tater. Him and his grandfather play music for us. Well, Tater's going to be Judge Chilcote, and then Chris Dawes is going to be John Fulton, and then I'll portray John Massey. But as far as units that were formed here in Lincoln County, you had Forest Escort Company, Captain Hudgens, Battery Light Artillery, Captain Spencer's Infantry Company, 1st Tennessee, 8th Tennessee, 23rd, 32nd, 41st, 44th, and the 55th. So we had a lot of different regiments here. And I think out of Lincoln County, we had 12 people that ended up being on the Confederate Roll of Honor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What about Union side? Was there any Union enlistments in Lincoln County?
There were no Union regiments raised in Lincoln County. I'm sure there were some that joined the Union Army, but there were no regiments Union here in Lincoln County.
Well, of course, if you're portraying Massey, anybody going to be tearing their shirt open?
I don't know. Hope I don't get shot.
That was what I was going to say. He could pull off John R. Massey. That's the reason why I've popped that up there a couple of times. So be careful in that cemetery.
Yeah. We
James,
actually did.
Are there descendants of Massey? Was he married, or did he have any children?
He did not have any children. No.
What about other Massey's relations? Are there still any around? Have you made any contact with any descendants from brothers, other siblings?
There's a lot of Masseys here in Lincoln County. I'm not sure of the connection. Some of the guys that have been in the camp several years would probably be better to answer that, but I've not been able to do that research on that.
Well, let's jump in a little bit about the camp. Of course, your camp there is namesake is John R. Massey. James, tell me a little bit about the camp, a little history to it, and how long it's been in existence, and kind of where it is now as you're leading as commander.
Yeah, this camp's been in existence about 40 years now. And we met at the city hall for many, many years. And then COVID came, and then we're meeting at Shoney's now here in Fayetteville, which has turned out real good because it's nice to be able to feed a speaker when you get them in. And we got a closed section that we get to sit in. Camp's been involved, like I said, in the host of Christmas Past for a long time. We've had a good relationship with the Chamber of Commerce. We've been members of the Chamber of Commerce for many years. The Rose Hill Cemetery has started having cemetery tours. So we've had several people portraying some of the soldiers buried there. I was Colonel Robert Farkson in the October cemetery tour at Rose Hill. Chris Dawes was Captain Jake Turney, and then James Shelton was T.C. Little. And that's good. It's good exposure. It's good to get out and take part in the community. And it's always good for us to try to volunteer if we got a chance to be on the board somewhere. So I know a lot of people say, well, I don't have time. Well, we've all need to try to take that time and get involved. This last year, we had a booth at the Lincoln County Fair for the first time in many, many years. And we had such a great reception from that. We had about 100 people that signed up to get the camp email newsletter and handed out. I know this last year we had this camp brochure made. It's got a history of the county, and the division helped fund that. We handed out a ton of those. People want and crave information about their history, and those, and then the little aluminum tokens you can get from headquarters went over real well as well. And
it's important to put things in people's hands. I mean, you got them in front of you, give them something to take home they may look at later, and they may even throw it on a counter and look at it 6 months down the road. But it's about having our name and what we do and about our ancestors kind of in their face in a way that it's right there.
Yeah, and we had a big tub of soft peppermint candy too, and that was kind of everybody wanted a piece of peppermint candy, and then while you had them there digging out of the candy box, you could kind of reel them in and tell them a little bit about the history while they were there as well.
And I'm sure, James, a positive experience there in Fayetteville there, of course, at the fair and the Lincoln County Fair? Probably mostly positive, I'm sure.
It was all positive. We didn't have any negative at all. Had a lot of people from all walks of life that came by and stopped and talked to us and appreciated us helping out with our history. We had a lady that she runs Barrowalla Marketplace out in Flintville, and she has a big event every year. And when she saw us there, she said, "I want y'all to be at my event. I'm going to give y'all a free booth."
Oh, wow.
So we got that out of it. And she was, I forget the author of That Devil Forest. She was actually a descendant of his. So she was really interested. I think we'll be able to start going there and spreading the word at her event every year. We've also kept the Confederate monument good and clean. I think Jason had some pictures of us cleaning it up, doing the annual spraying on it. There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. I've got a super soaker squirting up at the top. We got a 10-foot ladder that only gets up so far, and you don't want to get a pole with a brush and maybe damage the monument or knock it off the top. But that super soaker worked real well to get the monument good and hosed down with the D2. And there's one of Tater and Joe spraying off the monument, getting it good and clean. You see how nice and white it is now. And back in, let's see, May, June of 2022, we were able to get our monument on the front of the Confederate Veteran magazine, and it needed cleaning then, but at least this is a good example of how well it looks now. And that, if you dig up that issue, it's also got the story of John R Massey in it that Dr. Bradley wrote.
A lot of good work there in that monument. James, talk a little bit about that monument. What's the history? How long has that monument been on the square?
It was dedicated September 6th of 1906. And there's a lot of real good Confederate reunion pictures that have been made of the monument. The First National flag flies year round. We've got a guy in the courthouse that keeps that up and flying for us. And we've got a lot of good friends there inside the courthouse. And we're working right now on a proclamation to celebrate the 120th anniversary of the monument.
Oh, wow.
And we'll get that out. And that's another thing. If you got a state rep or a senator that's friendly to us, try to get them to write you a proclamation. They don't mind doing it. Sometimes you got to do all the legwork and get the wording down right. But it really looks good on their part, and it supports our history too, having those kind of documents from government officials.
Yeah. You mentioned the monument there. I've been to a few events there that you have annually. When is that coming up, James? That'll be this next year again, won't it?
Yeah, that's going to be April 25th from 11 to 2. We've had our annual Confederate History Month commemoration. I think this will be the 5th year of it. We've had Dr. Bradley just about every year to be a speaker, and he's always done a great job. And then we'll have Taylor and Joe. They'll be playing music and have a speaker, maybe some of our local representatives, and then do a memorial there at the monument.
And you've had representatives speak there the couple of times I've been able to attend. Man, that's good to have our representatives there, and not just a sugar-coated message they give, but how they stand up for our ancestors and going to defend in a time when you don't hear that a lot. We still have friends and they're people that want to honor their ancestors.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I know Tony Hensley came last year, and he's a SCV member, proud SCV member, and he's also a state representative as well.
Well, let's do this, guys. Let's go ahead and take another quick break. We'll come back after this. And James, if you'll hang around with us, I want to talk a little bit about your time in the SCV and some of your accomplishments and things you've worked on in the division you've seen done, and maybe some things that you would like to see done in the SCV in the future and how we can continue the work we do. So we'll be right back after this. Jason Boshears, John Blankenship, James Patterson with you on Tennessee Tuesday.
When my mother was in college, she danced with Confederate veterans. To me, it wasn't that far away. My father knew this. My mother knew this. Almost 50 years ago, I joined the Sons of Confederate Veterans. In those days, we weren't concerned about saving monuments or any of those things. That wasn't necessary. In fact, none of us had any remote idea that it would ever come up. We can't just sit there and react. We have to be proactive. Or, as Robert E. Lee said, The best way to disrupt your enemy's plans is to strike first. Everyone should do all in his power to collect and disseminate the truth, in the hope that it may find a place in history and descend to posterity. History is not the relation of campaigns and battles and generals or other individuals, but that which shows the principles for which the South contended and which justified her struggle for those principles. If you're looking for some place to be where you think you're going to accomplish something to save our history, go to the Sons of Confederate Veterans. I'm Thomas Lee Jesse. I'm a descendant of Private Daughtery Gilmer, a Confederate veteran.
And welcome back into Tennessee Tuesday. As Mr. Jesse said there, Jason, something they didn't have to deal with 50 years ago when he joined was we never thought we'd have to be defending our monuments. We thought they would be safe on the courthouse squares and our cemeteries. For crying out loud, they come after them. They are our ancestors' graves. It's the time in which we live, but the reason our organization exists, in my view and in my opinion here, is to honor the Confederate soldier and do what we have to do to defend him and his symbols as well. And that's something we've done in the Tennessee division. I believe we've done really well, is defend our ancestors. Even in court battles we've had to go through, and we've come out victorious in many of those. And guys, one we followed closely and talked about on this show is in Franklin. Of course, there was the Williamson County seal that was up. We went through several cases, and finally, through the cases, you see that the commission there, the county commission, they were done with it. They dropped it, and that seal remains with the Confederate battle flag on it. It continues to honor our ancestors in Franklin and in Williamson County as a whole, in one of the richest counties in the state of Tennessee and one of the fastest growing counties. Our ancestors will continue to be honored there. And there's something, gentlemen, I want to kind of jump in. I'm not going to talk a lot about this, and I know me and Jason have talked about this, and James was in on it briefly, but something we do want to mention, because I know there's several talking about this tonight, that there is a gentleman from the Columbia area in Murray County that's made a statement. We won't state his name tonight yet, but he has made a statement referencing the McGavock Confederate Cemetery there in Franklin. And pretty much, I'm going to read this quote here. It says, is the home to one of the largest public restrooms in the world, known as McGavock Confederate Cemetery. This restroom has nearly 1,500 individual toilets. Gentlemen, I don't know about you, but that don't settle well with me. And we will stand up and defend our ancestors, whatever that takes, whether it's in social media posts, whether it's going on site, whether it's any legal battles in the future, to make known that we stand up and we honor them. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I don't like seeing those things, but we're going to stand up and defend our ancestors' good name.
Well, we can't let this pass.
Yeah.
This is, we have, at what point in time are we going to say enough is enough? Okay. Yeah. That time has long since passed. And now everything that comes out, they say, well, you can't fight every battle. Well, why can't we? Well, why can't, well, yes, our ancestors did not fight in every battle. They could not have been in Gettysburg and Vicksburg at the same time.
Yeah.
But Confederates were in Gettysburg and Confederates were in Vicksburg. So come on, let's fight this. This is in my own backyard. I take this as a personal insult. And to McGavock Confederate Cemetery, to me, is holy ground.
Yep.
And he's talking about using it as a public restroom. That's biblical ramifications. Where's God in that guy's mind? I mean, that's just, you don't think about things like that. And because I say that, I'm going to go ahead and put this up. I'm going to play the disclaimer, because this is not the opinion of anybody else in the SCD other than my own. Where is God in somebody's mind like that, to where they are willing to publicly state that they're going to use anybody's gravesite as a urinal?
Jason, I believe it's one of the worst things you can do is dishonor someone's final resting place. And we're not just talking about Confederate soldiers, as this social media post was. An individual that has been employed at a local community college receiving state funding is making statements like this to our ancestors and our membership's ancestors and just our friends' ancestors. This should stir anybody up because it may start there. But what about it when it's your great grandfather's grave? They're saying they're going to go in and do you know what on their grave. We have to stand up against this. What has happened to society and people as a whole that we have no respect for someone's final resting place?
This is for anybody. I mean, this isn't for anybody's gravesite. You know, where do you draw the line? Well, there is no line. It's eradicated. Whatever I feel like I want to do, that's what I'm going to do. No respect for anybody or anything like that. No, this is, I found this personally insulting. I have a problem with this. This is in my own backyard. I consider Franklin my backyard.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there many, many, many times. You know, I can't just, I find this very insulting. Very insulting. I don't have the words for it right now, but I have voiced my opinion that I have a severe problem with this. And I have a severe problem with the person who thinks it's okay to not only think it, but publicly say it.
If they will say it to that with their name attached, Jason, what is next? We know most people pay no attention to these people, but there are ones that follow every word they say and will go and do these things. Do we sit back and we just allow these things to be? Some say we just ignore them. We don't reference them. Maybe there's a time and place for that, but there's some other situations in Tennessee that our membership is working on, our members individually, to protect their rights as Tennessee citizens. We have a right to be at locations and places that we shouldn't be disrespected just because we have a Confederate battle flag and this person has their thing. We have our rights to be there, and we're going to defend those. That's what we do. And I saw in the chat here to be on the offensive. That's something we've got to do, put dollars towards and effort towards being out there and telling their story like James is doing there in Fayetteville with having the event on Court Square. That's on the offensive. It's out there for folks to see. We don't forget about our monuments. You know, that's one of the worst things we can do. There's an example of a cemetery in Tennessee right now. If we have any issues, someone's going to quickly say, well, you haven't done anything with it in the past 40 years. That's why we've got to work. It's more than just sitting behind the computer. Somebody needs to do this. That somebody is me. If you've got a local cemetery, follow the right procedures you need to follow, protect yourself. But we've got to care for these graves. Now, again, I want you to hear what I'm saying, Jason, and I know, and James, you know what I'm saying here. There are laws. You can't just go on somebody's property and do whatever you want to do. But nobody else is going to defend the Confederate ancestor. For example, the monuments like James and them cleaning those. If we don't clean them, we don't care for them. If it ever comes to a legal battle, what's that judge or what's whoever going to say? Well, you do anything. It's just been sitting there for 50 years growing mold and moss.
Yes. And although that could be a valid statement, but let's address the future. That was then. Now let's look at now and let's look at moving forward. What are we going to do? And that's what we're going to do. Focus now and move forward. Okay. We all know that there's Confederate memorials. We know there's Confederate graves that need attention. It's as simple as that. You know they need attention. You know it's the right thing to do. Go take care of them. It's the right thing to do. And it doesn't matter if it's my ancestor or Floyd Harvey is in the is in the chat and he's out of Hot Springs. And if it's his ancestor, I'm going to clean his ancestor stone because I know Floyd Harvey would go clean my ancestor stone. He would remember it, he would honor it, and he would take care of it. And then here he is. He come on here, and they just marched in the Hot Springs Veterans Day Parade.
There you go.
So, you know, this, we have a responsibility to all of them, period.
Mm-hmm.
When I joined this organization, I took an oath. When you sworn into this organization, I was, and I had to take an oath. And you don't take too many oaths in this life, because if not, you're going to break one somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But the ones that you do take, you become very serious about. And when something happens in your backyard, it's different. But no, it feels different to you because it's in your backyard. But the reality is, it's not different than if it happens in Hot Springs, Arkansas, or Fayetteville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
It all impacts all of us. It might insult you more because it's right up the road. But the fact is, it's insulting to all of our Confederate ancestors.
And Jason, we should act accordingly to that. Again, we know our organization works best on the local level. We help out as a division, we help out as a whole, but you in that local community where it mostly affects, that's where our guys and our ladies have to work there. Not everything is in front of the media, in front of the camera. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes and building relationships. One of the things I love the most is when something Confederate in Gibson County comes up, my name comes up, they're going to call it, hey, John's probably going to know something about that or have something to say about that or a concern. That's where we need to be as members in our organization. When something's related to the Confederacy and the Confederate soldier, we're the folks they call on.
Yes, you're right.
That's who people are looking for the information.
Yes, sir. And the SCV should be stop number one for all things Confederate. SCV needs to be stop number one for all things Confederate.
Absolutely. But we got on a little soapbox this evening, Jason.
Yes, we did.
James is waiting in the wings patiently there. He may be shaking his head. He's not shaking his head at us, so I know he agrees with us here. But we thank him for being with us tonight. James, let's jump back into the conversation here a little bit about, as we've talked about what the SCV does and what you're doing there, of course, in Lincoln County. Let's talk some about the museum up there I know you're involved in.
Yeah, there's a picture of the part of the display in the Lincoln County Museum. And when I first moved back down here, I wanted to go to a museum board meeting just to see what was going on. Lo and behold, and then just a month or so, I got on the board, and now I'm vice president of the museum. So I think that's important for all of us to try to get on these boards, because most of them are hunting for people. There's a big lack of volunteers these days. So I went in, and they had a lot of stuff that was just kind of hanging around, and we put some stuff in display cases, got a storyline on a lot of the soldiers, got some uniforms in there now. I think there's another picture of the other side of the wall. We've got a lot of, there we go, a lot of the veteran reunion pictures. We've got a panel on the door there from that Stones River Battlefield gave to us that tells the story of Monroe Beard, and they had him highlighted in that Stones River Battlefield several years ago. So it's a lot larger display now, and it's amazing the people that come through, especially homeschool groups that enjoy and want to hear about the history. I've done a program for a homeschool group here in Lincoln County, and that was through being at the museum and having people come through. And I've had several homeschool people that came in that have visited the Confederate Museum in Columbia. There were two in there on Saturday, and they were learning about history. And I told them, I said, I can give them a Civil War program, and they're going to get back with me on that. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and we'll just reach out and grab them.
Absolutely. A great job you there. That booth has come a long way. I've followed your photographs over the years of it since you've been involved in it, and great progress there, and a very interesting booth.
Yeah. Glad to. There's Dr. Bradley last year, their Confederate Memorial Service, and he always does a great job. And it's just our time to be able to take a little moment downtown on the square at the courthouse and tell about our history.
I'd like to take a moment to talk about Dr. Bradley.
Yeah.
That is an amazing man, and brilliant. Books are great. I'd love to have him on this show. Wouldn't that be great to have him on this show?
That's something we need to work on. And something you said that, Jason, and I know we've talked about this. And if Dr. Bradley gets a chance to watch this, we're going to kind of put him on the spot a little bit because I believe he'll do this. I'd love to get him down in front of a camera type setting and get him sharing this knowledge so we can preserve it outside of his books, because his books are great, but there's so much more research that he's done than just not what's in the books. Anybody that writes a book or articles know that. And to document this history, and there's others, and that's something we're doing through this, like by James telling John R Massey's story. So now it's on social media in another form, in a video form.
Yes,
that's something we want to expand upon, and we're not just talking about what the SCB does news-wise, but we're telling our ancestors' stories by having these guests.
Yes, and I know James told this wonderful story of John R Massey, tragic story. But it is a wonderful story on exactly the kind of man he was. Wouldn't that be great to record that? And James Patterson could tell the entire story, everything that led up, the whole family deal, and, you know, before, during, and after, and record that, just like sit down and talk to Dr. Bradley and just turn the camera on and turn the mic on and go, Dr. Bradley, what happens next? You know, and just let that man just start talking. And it's the same way with James Patterson here. Just let him start talking, because so much knowledge is in there. And we need it recorded. We need it recorded. And it's great that we did this, but set him down in front of a camera and in a studio setting and just let him tell the story.
Very important. James, let's talk a little bit about your time in the SCV and some of your accomplishments. I know you've been a Tennessee Division Commander for a couple of terms there, and you've held other roles. Kind of tell us about some of your roles. So I'm going to kind of let you lead where you want to go with that, if you would. What you've kind of done in the SCV. So what are some of your biggest accomplishments you would say that you're proud of that you've been able to see do? I know it's kind of putting you on the spot, but you've got many.
Yeah, well, I was adjutant at Camp 33 for 31 years. Might have been the longest serving adjutant ever in SCV, but I really enjoyed doing that. And we had a lot of great projects that we did there in Rutherford County. When the sesquicentennial came around, we set a goal to set a monument every year. And we did that. We set some granite benches in the Confederate Circle there in Murfreesboro. A good friend of ours, her and her daughter, would come over to the circle and just kind of sit around. And she said, it'd be good if y'all put some benches out there. So we actually had some granite benches made and set in the circle. We put a Confederate monument downtown Eagleville. We put a regimental monument. It's a flat slab in front of the Confederate monument at the Rutherford County Courthouse. And it lists all the regiments that were raised there in Rutherford County. We put a marker on the original grave of Sam Davis in Pulaski. And then the final monument, which is probably one of the proudest that I was been able to take part in, is in camp wise, was the Forest Raid Monument that we put up in the city cemetery there in Murfreesboro, because it took a lot of research from several different members to come up with the names of those 26 guys. But those guys are memorialized forever now. And it was a huge monument. And it came at a time right on the fringe of when all the anti-monument stuff started happening. So we were fortunate to get that one up.
Yeah.
And then when I was division commander, we placed the Forest Monument there at the Nathan Bedford Forest Boyhood Home in conjunction with the Alabama Division. Another thing that when I was division commander, a lot of these cities were kind of turning on monuments and cemeteries. And the mayor of Chattanooga came out. He wanted to divest Chattanooga from having anything to do with the Confederate cemetery. So I immediately called Scott Hall and said, Scott, let's see if we can get this cemetery. So within a few little orders and talks behind the scenes, the Chattanooga Cemetery, Confederate Cemetery, is now completely under the trust of the SCV, camp, division, and national. That's the three trustees of that cemetery. So we don't have to worry about that a lot. I mean, we got to worry about all of them. But and then one of the things that I enjoyed the most over the years was probably hosting the 2012 SCB National Convention, because that was a good time. It was a lot of work. We put on a Forest Raid reenactment downtown Murfreesboro during the reunion, and had a lot of good tours, and it just turned out real well. So right off the top of my head, that's some of the things that I've been proudest of.
Yeah,
But,
you've been
mostly
involved in a lot,
honoring,
James. Go ahead.
honoring our ancestors. That's what it's all about.
That's
Yes.
right. You mentioned the 2012 reunion there, and James is already kind of recruiting himself. He's going to help possibly with another one here in a few years with his skills and expertise.
Yeah, we just got to get time to get together and get the logistics of everything laid out, and it'll happen real quick. We're putting on the 2027 division reunion here in Lincoln County, so y'all put that one on your calendar. We got a lot of plans for that. We'll have the Lincoln County Museum. That's where a lot of the meetings will be. We've got a good civic center there, and then go to some of the sites that we've talked about here tonight to see where some of these Confederate heroes are buried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, James, let's mention the museum again. That's something we've helped out as the Tennessee division, being able to do a donation there in the past to the museum. That's something I know you've done as division commander as well, and we've been able to do. I've been able to help with is helping our small museums. We've done that a lot too in the SCB, not just our own things, but helping others like that one.
We have, and that was really appreciated by the Museum Association. We also were given an award for the work that's been going on there at the Lincoln County Museum. Sam Davis Home, that's another one that the division's been able to help out a lot with over the years. We've been fortunate there too that we've got several SCB members on that board, the board of trustees and the board of directors. Steve Murphy, who's the I think it's chaplain of the Murfreesboro camp. He's president of the Sam Davis Memorial Association. So, like I've been saying, volunteer to get on those boards and make your voice heard. That's the only way we can get our foot in the door, and sometimes just go in and sit down, take the seat at the front row.
Exactly right. Well, I know we've got a few more pictures, Jason, that I want to make sure as we get ready to wrap up here in the next few minutes that we get through, James, all the ones you've got. If there's others here, Jason, you're looking at them and see if we want to go through a few more.
Yes, we will. I just wanted to say that he was mentioning all the things that happened during the 2012 reunion and all the things we did. I was a member of Murfreesboro 33 for 7 years during that time, and that was a fantastic camp, very active. And I have to say, Patterson was the driving force behind this. He was the ramrod. You know, he was the ramrod behind the 2012 National. He was the one that was out front leading it. When I started attending their camp meetings, I thought he was the camp commander, and it turned out he was the camp adjutant. But he was the guy that was always out front and leading, and did a fantastic job. And the things that he mentioned, I was there for those, and I tell you, they were great times. The Forest Raid Monument was awesome when we put that down there. And there was a picture of that we showed, I think it was last week, and where they had the service when Dr. Murphy was there. And so Camp 33 was a very active, very good camp. And I was with Patterson there. Yes, I was with Patterson in there. And but here's the rest of your picture, James.
Oh yeah, that's from our Confederate History Month Memorial last year. There's two big cannons in what's called Confederate Park there at the Lincoln County Courthouse, and those cannons were actually brought from Mobile, Alabama, down from the fort down there, and given to the Lincoln County to put into Confederate Park.
Oh.
And that's us at there's me and Tater and Joe at the Lincoln County Fair. They got a little storyboard and then a couple of banners with us, and that was a real good event. That's Mildred Goodrich. She's the lady that after Massey was executed, she had the bodies taken to her hardware store, And that portrait is in the Lincoln County Museum. And I'd been there, I already knew this Massey story, but I'd been there on the board for about 2 years. And I walked by one day and the guy that was president said, "Hey, can you rewrite this storyline on this lady?" And I had never read it. And I looked down and I think, oh my gosh, this is Mildred Goodrich. She's the heroine of Lincoln County. So we're fortunate to have that picture. It adds into the story. So anytime somebody comes to the museum, they get the story of Mildred Goodrich and the story of John R. Massey.
James, let me ask you this about Massey. Was his story one that's always stayed in the forefront in Lincoln County and Fayetteville, or has that been one that kind of faded away and has been brought back in more recent years? Has it always been out there?
It's always been out there, but like I said, Lincoln County is not a big Civil War town. There weren't any major battles here. So Civil War history is something that's out there in the forefront all the time, like you do in like Franklin or Murfreesboro, or anywhere else where they got a lot of battles going on. But his story is one of the main ones here in Fayetteville. There's another smaller monument beside the Lincoln County monument that I'm thinking was probably placed up close to where he was executed at one time. It's a limestone triangular monument. So the story's been around a long time. There was actually a play written about the execution back in the 1930s by a lady that was in the UDC. And it's one of those things that it may have faded, but we're putting it back up there in the forefront today.
James, you mentioned monuments. Is there, and I probably should know this, is there a good, clear monument or signage that really tells his story anywhere in Fayetteville?
Not to mind. Not that comes right to mind.
That would be a good project.
It would.
Some kind of commemorate, some kind of monument, something that's going to be lasting.
Yeah.
Really tells I know his grave site might not be the place that we could ever get to do that by where he's buried, but there's got to be a good place to do that somewhere in Fayetteville and make a really big deal about it.
Since the place where he was executed is at the public library, it might be where we could maybe get a Civil War Trails marker placed up there and have that story. It'd be an appropriate place for his story since it's where he was executed.
Absolutely. That's something to work on. There's your new project.
There you go. Thank you.
And I know the Tennessee Division would be happy to help in that project. I know I'm speaking out there, but that's important. His story and telling that story and putting that out in the forefront for folks to know about. James, that picture of him that we have, I came across it in the Confederate Veteran magazine recently, in that original story. Have you ever located, is the original still around, or do we know much about it?
I don't know. There's a book. Hold on a second. Let me grab something from the library.
Yeah, I know I've seen it in early 1900s, I guess it was, maybe late 1890s in the Confederate Veteran magazine. Maybe it was in the same time. There's another, it was around that same era.
There's another book that's the history of the Army of Tennessee. It might be Lindsley's book that has his picture in there, but it doesn't actually have the story in it. It just has a picture of him, John R. Massey. So Dr. Bradley's book With Blood and Fire is a real good book about what all went on behind the lines, and it has the Massey story in it. But as far as finding an older story, I've not come across one. There's probably one out there somewhere. I just need to do a little more research on that.
I'm seeing there is a James Patterson author out there that's pretty famous, but I know one that could probably be even more famous tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
We'll see what we can do on that.
There you go. Well, again, gentlemen, it's been a good show tonight. James, thank you so much for being a part of the program and jumping in here with us. And as always, you know, the door is open anytime you want to come on and to talk about what's going on there in Fayetteville and, of course, in the Tennessee Division and anywhere for that matter. A historian and very well versed in war history between the states. James, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Okay, thank you for having me on. Maybe we can do a program in the future on Forest Murfreesboro Raid. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes, I think we need to do that. And that's to be there and to know that whole story and to actually reenact that while the national reunion was going on. the national reunion was going on, and I'm dressed as a federal on the courthouse in Murfreesboro during the forest raid. But they needed somebody to shoot at, so they picked me.
Good stuff.
It was great. That was a great reunion, and I tell you, that's one of those events that got me addicted into all of this. Just being active and part of it, and the years that I spent working with James Patterson, James Forbes, Steve Murphy, all of these men that we worked with there in Murfreesboro. And the years that I spent with them, they were great years, and I relish them to this day. And thank you for everything you've done for me, Patterson.
Thank you. Back to you, Jason.
Great show tonight, guys. I think this has been good. Before we wrap up, there's a couple of things we still need to go through. We want to kind of look at here tonight, Jason. A couple more events. We want to make sure we mention the 161st anniversary of the Battle of Kingsport. That commemoration event is coming up on December the 13th. I know our Lieutenant Commander, Rich Garcia, I believe, is going to be at that event. So it's a little far away from me in West Tennessee to get there that day. He's going to go and bring greetings on behalf of the division. A great work being done by the guys up there in East Tennessee, and that's coming up on December the 13th. That will be at 10 o'clock there in Kingsport. A couple of other things. The Sam Davis home. Jason, you can probably talk a little more about this. History After Dark is coming up in December.
Yes, the customs during those times were quite a lot different than the customs nowadays. And if you will come there during this, and it is going to be on December 6th at 7 p.m., you can call and you can book your time to come, and you will see what the customs were during those times and how different they are than modern day customs. And it was a time that they told ghost stories. They had fortune tellers, and it was, yes. And you actually see it on here. The boys lit firecrackers and shot guns on Christmas morning. Yes. But it was quite a bit different than what you see nowadays.
Yeah, definitely a good event there coming up. A lot of great events at Sam Davis home. Lots of things going on there this time of year. There's already been a couple of events, and then the memorial service there remembering Sam Davis coming up on the 22nd. And Jason, I don't have a flyer for this one yet, but you mentioned the 6th of December. There's a couple of things going on in Franklin. They're going to have the annual Civil War show will be going on that weekend. Rich Garcia is going to be there with our Tennessee Division recruitment booth. Sean Hill, our second lieutenant commander. I'm going to come up for a while on Saturday. There'll be others there. I know Gene Andrews usually has a booth there for the Forest Boyhood Home. A lot of our guys, and we invite you to come up. There'll be an admission cost, of course, to come in. Here's what's hard about me going to these events, Jason. I really don't need to spend money and buy anything.
But I can resist
spend money and buy anything.
But I can resist anything but temptation. I can't resist temptation. So you go to a place like that and you go, oh, no, okay.
Yeah. I believe it's still known, at least it's promoted as the largest Civil War, quote unquote, show in the South and probably in the nation for that matter. Great event, a lot of neat stuff to see. Now, there's some things that are not for sale, but I got to see some flags last time. One of them was from Corinth, Alcorn County, Mississippi, and didn't know that flag existed, had an ancestor that served in there. So get to see that original flag. I'm sure it probably could be bought if the price is right, but John doesn't make enough money to purchase something like that. But impressive to see that it survived 160 years, been restored, but to get to see that flag and many others. Jason, and I also want to mention on the 7th, again, I need a flyer for this. The OCR, the Tennessee Division, will kind of help with this. Their event is coming up on the 7th. That will be at Elm Springs there at Columbia SCB headquarters. The Jefferson Davis commemoration event that will happen on December the 7th. Jason, you have that time. It's that afternoon, I believe. Is it
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Yes. 2 o'clock on Sunday the 7th, December 7th.
That's going on. Got to come last year. That was a good event. Started raining on us a little bit.
Yes.
Adam Southern had set up his PA equipment. He had gone back inside to kind of man the museum that day, and and had to do a quick disassemble and move the PA equipment in the rain. We got under one of the big covered porches on the side of the museum, but a good event, a little cool, still a great event. Everybody that spoke, and the fantastic job by the OCR that put that on, Claudia Chapman and many others there. Your wife, I know, was a part of that too. Just a great job. And me and Casey enjoyed coming up. And Casey's not going to get to be with me, I don't think, this year, but I'm going to be there that Sunday afternoon. So I'll look forward to being at HQ. And as we kind of mentioned HQ, Jason, let's talk about our National Confederate Museum. Of course, we know it's been open Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. Recently, we've added Saturdays every Saturday from 9 till 4. So there's no reason why, if you're in Tennessee, making a weekend trip, that you don't come stay. You come stay in Murray County, stay in Columbia or some of the surrounding areas, spend local dollars, come to the Confederate Museum. You could spend several hours there, take you some stuff home. A good time, Jason. I know you're just right down the road in Mount Pleasant. You spend a lot of time at the museum. Folks need to come out and see it if you haven't been yet.
Yeah, I was up there today. As you know, the grounds were closed because of Veterans Day, but the museum, Eric Pravati, who so many of you know, he opened the museum. So the museum was open, and we had people there doing tours. Now, last year during Veterans Day, we were extremely busy that day. Yeah. We were busy today because we had a couple of people, and I'll be there tomorrow. And, you know, it's always something going on there. And I'll go ahead and mention, since we were talking about the first weekend in December, the Murray County Christmas Historic Home Tour is going on the Friday and Saturday, first Friday and Saturday in December. So it's going to be December 5th and 6th.
And Elm Springs is on the tour, correct?
Yes, Elm Springs is on. And you can contact General Headquarters. They'll tell you all the information. Or you can look up Murray County, Tennessee Christmas Tour of Homes. And there's churches on there, homes on there, and you can tour on Friday and Saturday. So
some beautiful homes and locations in Murray County and Columbia. If you've never been there and taken some time, and I've got to go to several of those homes over the years. Of course, I've had ancestors that came through Murray County. The Bigbyville community that I know you're very familiar with had an ancestor there in the early 1800s. His little original brick home is still standing. So a very good connection to Murray County, and look forward. I'm hoping we're going to get to come up Friday night a little early so we can come to the tour on Friday night, then go to Franklin on Saturday, back to Elm Springs on Sunday, make it a full weekend of event. There's a lot going on in Middle Tennessee. So between the home tour, to seeing the museum, to seeing the Franklin Civil War show, to the OCR event on Sunday, lots to do in Middle Tennessee.
Yes, always. The first weekend in December is always real busy.
Well, let's mention, it's just about time to wrap up, Jason. We've been going for a while tonight. And again, we appreciate all those staying on with us and staying with us the show and commenting. We're glad to have all of those viewing on our many different platforms this evening. One coming up is our Tennessee Division reunion in April. That's going to be hosted there in Morristown. Of course, it's going to be centered around the General Longstreet Museum. There's going to be tours Mike Beck and the camp there, and Jordy Barnett and others have put together. Josh Cameron, I don't want to leave anybody out, but that's just a few of the names that are working to get the hotel set up and the event. Mike has done a great job. He was past division commander 3 terms as division commander. Has done so much, and he has up there to preserve that home and that historic site. He's partnered with the Chamber of Commerce to bring some of these bus tours and events. That's going to be a good time. You can go to TennesseeSCV.org. If you're a division member, if you're an SCV member, you can, of course, attend that, send in your registration. Very, very affordable event coming up in Morristown. That's going to be in April. I believe that's 17th and 18th. My eyesight's not so great.
Yes, sir. April 17th and 18th.
And as we wrap up on news, of course, Lee Jackson banquets are coming up in Tennessee, and not only just in Tennessee, but for those that are watching around the Confederation this evening. Let us know about those. We'd like to share those on this program, and I'm sure Moose would like to share those in other shows here on SCV Chat as well. So just a couple of those we know about. The Lee Jackson banquet that you're speaking at for the Colonel Jeffrey Forrest Brigade, which is going to be in Union City. You're going to be there as the guest speaker.
Yes, sir. I'll be there. I've got 5 Lee Jacksons this year that I'll be speaking. I'll be down with Roy Hudson at the J.J. Dickinson camp. I'll be down there speaking at their Lee Jackson. That's my first one, and I think I've got 3 in a row right after that. Yes.
Yeah, there's a.
I'll be down in Foley, Alabama, speaking as well. Yes.
Mm-hmm. The one coming up the 31st of January, you'll be at here at the Otho French Straw Camp there in Mount Zion Methodist Church. And if you've never been up that way, Jason, you're going to enjoy that. That's definitely a treat in that area of West Tennessee. Also, we've got the Longstreet Zollicoffer Camp 87 in Knoxville. They've got their annual Lee Jackson banquet in its 33rd year. That'll be, of course, at Jubilee Banquet Hall there on February the 7th. That's always a big event if you've never been to one of those. Good crowd always. And, of course, Commander-in-Chief Donnie Kennedy is going to be the guest speaker for the Lee Jackson banquet there in Knoxville. So that's just a couple of those coming up. We're starting to see more of those. And let us know. We want to promote that here at Tennessee Tuesday, especially those that are happening in Tennessee, and invite you to make. I know you can't always make all of them, but if you can make a few of those and support our camps and enjoy some good food, some good fellowship, and honor General Lee and General Jackson.
Yes, sir. What we'll do is we will talk very briefly about the SCV National Reunion, Lexington, Kentucky. It's the 131st National Reunion. You can go to the website 131scv.org. It is July 15th and 16th. Love to see everybody up there in Lexington.
Yeah, go ahead and get especially your hotel rooms. I know they'd like to have your registration in as well. Putting on a division reunion a couple times. National's a little larger scale, so they would appreciate your registration sent in. But make sure you check on those hotel rooms. When I booked mine, Jason, about a month and a half, about 2 months ago, there were just a few at the host hotels. I don't know where that stands right now, but get those booked. It's always best if you can stay in the host hotel. It's easier. But again, don't let that deter you from coming. There's going to be plenty to do. These guys have put on a lot and really done a lot of effort to make this happen. So need to come out and support. It's not too far up the road for me, about 4.5 hours, 5 hours away. So like them when they're close, but love going to the national reunions. Jason, you've been to a whole bunch of them. I have as well, and really enjoyed the fellowship. You have the meetings, the business that has to be done. But especially in the last couple of years, as my time as division commander, the relationships that I've made and contacts all around the Confederation, it's just great. You've made new friends that have become friends for life.
Well, and I'm glad you stated it that way, because this ends up feeling like a family reunion of sorts every time I go to one of these, because it might be the last time I saw them. The next time I saw him in Houston. Next time I see him again will be Lexington. We might go back and forth in emails. We might text each other, follow each other on Facebook. We might do all of that, but we don't break bread, shake hands, talk in person until we get to the national reunion. And there's people you're used to seeing there every year, and they just become like family.
And throwing off ideas of each other. I got to talk with Harrison and Forrest Dawes a little more. We got to spend some time in between some of the meetings and learning what the Mississippi division is doing. And ideas we can bring back to Tennessee, and hopefully they can take some of ours and take it back to theirs. Just that kind of fellowship, it makes our organization stronger outside of the meetings, these relationships that are built. And, hey, man, we can work on this project together.
Yes, the meetings are a wonderful thing, and I encourage everybody to go and go into the meetings so you can know what's going on. But it's the after meetings that really develop into what, ideas, thoughts being passed around, and somebody will come up with an idea. And I heard Forrest Dawes say this one time. A good idea. Somebody come up with a good idea. I think it was him that's going on down there. Well, so that's a good idea. You mind if I use it? And he goes, every great idea was made to be stolen. So, somebody comes up with a good idea, use it. Say, hey, look, that's a great idea. Mind if I use it? And nobody's going to, and that's the thing. Nobody's going to say no. They're going to encourage you to use it and make it happen. If you don't mind, what I'd like to do is for just a moment, I'd like to bring Patterson back on.
Absolutely.
So we can talk about the Sam Davis home. Thank you for staying around, James. I do appreciate it. And James is on the board for the Sam Davis home. He was on the board when I come on. And as you know, membership in these organizations is critical. And this is when we met, we had Steve Murphy on last week, and we talked about becoming a member of the like the Sam Davis Memorial Association or any other museum or any other home that needs help, any other historic site. James, do you mind talking a little bit about that and the importance of membership in the Sam Davis home?
No, I've been on, like I said, I've been on the board of the Sam Davis home since 2013. And if we don't get our guys on the boards, if we don't participate, if we don't just become members, then the story fades away and it just turns into like the old 1800s farmhouse. That's what a lot of people were pushing for a while. So as long as we're active and we have these events on sites, the story of Sam Davis and whatever other heroes like at the Long Street Museum, those stories will keep getting told and the place will be preserved for forever, And Sam Davis home, the home of the boy hero, the Confederacy. The Sam Davis story is one of the biggest stories of heroism just about in the whole history of the war between the states. One of the most recognized stories. There's camps. There's a camp down in Mississippi that's a Sam Davis camp. So it's a story that pretty much everybody knows about. So we just got to keep supporting these sites, try to volunteer and get on the boards, go support the events, join us a member, donate money, support our historic Confederate sites.
James, you mentioned how important Sam Davis is, especially in Tennessee. You go back to when the monument was erected in the Capitol grounds in Nashville. Our local SCV camp that was first formed in Humboldt right about that time was known as the Sam Davis camp. So there were multiple Sam Davis camps in those early days. I mean, he was, as promoted at the time, the boy hero of the Confederacy. And his story was so important to have. Every time I go to Nashville, guys, I have to make sure I go by to stop. And you might not be able to get out as easy in downtown Nashville, but I want to go by and make sure that monument is there and think what an important story he has, because he is only one of many in Tennessee that were like he was killed. But there's a story that comes back to Gibson County that was written in the Nashville, Tennessee, in that same time as we tell of the hero of the Confederacy mentions the heroine of the Confederacy, which was a local girl here, what she did to defend their home and family. It just brings those stories out of how important they are. And that's why the Sam Davis home is so important that we support it. It needs our help. It needs our funding. Guys, y'all are all involved just like I am in museums. Museums don't make money. They don't get rich. So everything we can support and every little bit helps. You may think my $50 donation or $25 donation or a regular yearly membership is not important. It is. It keeps these stories being told, because if we don't support it, these stories will go away.
Yeah. When we had the 150th anniversary of the capture execution of Sam Davis, it was just about a week-long event, and it was the thing that kind of kick-started having this annual memorial service at Sam Davis home every year. Now we'll have a first national flag flying off the balcony. The first Tennessee Polk Corps flag flies off the porch of the Sam Davis office year-round. So all these things end up feeding into other events. Y'all mentioned the Lee Jacksons. I was invited to be the speaker for the parish Lee Jackson, which will be January 17th. And Rick Ravel wanted me to do my program on Sam Davis. So keeping that story of Sam Davis alive.
Very important. Good work. Gentlemen, we got a lot going on there. It's a busy time, and that's important. We stay busy. Again, it takes all of us as a whole in each of our divisions and our camps to work. One guy can't do it all. I say I may be the commander for a time in Tennessee Division. James, just like you were, Jason, you've been commander-in-chief. It's not all about us. It's about them. If it strays away from who we are honoring, then we don't work. It doesn't happen. But when we honor our Confederate soldier that we're related to, or our Confederate ancestors as a whole, this works well, and the SCV is what it's here designed to do. As we know, the soldiers themselves told us it's in our hands, and we must continue this on. I want this to be here long after I'm gone.
Yes. It needs to last long after all of us. It needs to last until the rapture.
Absolutely. You're exactly right.
Yes.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a good show. We've gone an hour and 35 minutes.
Well,
how about that?
Thank you, James Patterson.
You're welcome. Glad to be on here.
Absolutely. James, again, the door is always open. Jason, we've had a good time tonight. Look forward to doing this again next Tuesday. We may be in a little different format, but we're going to have a program for you.
Yes.
And we do thank you for being faithful viewers and watchers. And thank you for sharing these videos. That's how this grows. The more you share it, the more you put it out there, the more people will see it, the more views we get. And that's important, the views. Is that we're not after views to glorify us, but it helps the program to grow. It helps our story to get out. The more you share it, the more you tell folks about it. Again, scvchat.com. You can go there if you'd like to become a Patreon sponsor. You would like to be a monthly sponsorship, even make a donation. I know the guys would appreciate that and help keep this program on. It's not free to do. It does cost money to make this happen. Again, if you'd like to learn more about the Tennessee Division, you can visit TennesseeSCB.org. All of our contact information is on there about what we do in Tennessee. And, of course, scb.org if you're watching and you're somewhere else outside of Tennessee and interested in joining or want to know more about our organization, scb.org has all that you need to know and how you can become a member. It's really easy. Prove that Confederate ancestor. We've got genealogists to help you find those. I always say, Jason, if you're from the South and you've been around here a while, you've probably got a Confederate ancestor, and probably a few of them. May take a little effort to find them, but this is a great organization to be a part of, and we thank you for watching this evening. Gentlemen, y'all have any final comments before we say goodbye?
I just want to thank James Patterson again for being on, and I want to thank everybody that has tuned in tonight, watched the show, and especially all of those that have made comments, because this interaction that we have with people watching the show, to me, is very important. And I want to thank everybody that made comments. Mm-hmm. Thank you, John, for working on this show. It's great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great evening. Thank you for watching tonight. We'll be back with you this next Tuesday. Again, scbchat.com to learn more about all of the programs you hear each and every week. Y'all have yourself a great rest of this week. Take care. And again, happy Veterans Day. We salute our Veterans Day on this Tuesday.
Yes. Stay.